What is going on, my fucking crazy people? It is Rich back again with another episode today of the Young Rich podcast. Today I am solo dolo. Seth's got a lot of things going on, so here I am, another solo podcast. But we are going to get it out to you. Now, again, there was a lot of things I wanted to discuss, but there was just, I felt like I didn't want to rush through things. A couple things I haven't spoken of yet, like the Carl Anthony Towns trade to New York. I haven't spoken my thoughts about that, but I decided, it's kind of old news. It's kind of gotten to that, we've seen him play in 2 preseason games with the Knicks, so let's just get that out of there, So there's a lot of things I wanted to talk about, a little bit of college football and, things like that. But I'm going to steer more towards the main stuff these next, that happened these last 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours, and what's coming up, So a couple things I'll try to, attack and talk about more up front in my next episodes. Or maybe I drop some little, smaller clips, episodes discussing, college football, USC, the Big Ten, and all that stuff, But today, obviously, we're going to be discussing about the Thursday Night Football preview, a couple of rapid fire of the Week 5 NFL recap, and a couple big moments and statements that I've claimed to believe in going through Week 5. Talking about the Raiders' direction, because it's some breaking news this morning or yesterday, possibly yesterday night when it came out, that we'll get into in a moment. Discussing the San Francisco 49ers and how their season has gone and how their season is going to continue to go. The whole them losing Arizona situation. You got the Jets and Robert Saleh and all that drama. And then to end out the video, we're going to be discussing a little bit about NBA, this upcoming NBA season. A couple teams I like their over-unders, because obviously over-unders is one of the most funnest things to do before this in that preseason, during that off-season time period, to predict how good these teams are truly going to be. And so it's time to do that. So we're going to get into a little bit of that. I'm staying away from the NBA preseason truly because, some of the stuff, I'm a Lakers fan, so I've been able to watch some of these games live due to the fact that League Pass you need Spectrum.net plus pass and all this stuff if you're not in LA to have it, right? And that's just another subscription I want to add on to it. And do I really want to add another subscription right now while it's preseason? I know some people are like, sure, let's do that. Let's watch all the NBA. So for the most part, I'm still rewatching a couple games and a couple other clips. I've watched Cade Cunningham play a little bit in the Pistons, that being on YouTube TV, it's available there on NBA TV. So I've been able to watch some of that stuff. LaMelo Ball, I watched him get busy a little bit. But so, I'm staying away from that for this current moment, this current episode. But we'll be getting into it in our next episode and diving into some things I've found coming out of this current moment. But obviously, listen, I'm not a big baseball fan. I'm not the hugest baseball fan. I support my Oakland A's, right? Unfortunately, we are moving to Las Vegas. We're going to be in Sacramento for the next couple of years. But I support the A's. I keep up with the A's, right? When we're good, when we're bad, right? We still have those moments where we run and make a run for the wild card. And always, seemingly we can never make it past the wild card, but we still have those moments and I've been here for the last 3 or 4 times we've made those types of runs, right? So just think about baseball specifically, right? Playoff baseball is just, the atmosphere is different, just like playoff hockey, like the regular season, it's a little bit more slower paced, not as much energy and passion, unless there's a little bit of rivalry going on. But typically the regular season, everyone's just trying to get through the regular season. The top teams are going to be the top teams, and then you kind of have those teams fighting for a playoff spot, and trying to get in there late, like the Detroit Tigers, how they turned around that second half of the season and gave themselves a chance here, and they've been playing some great baseball, right? So these last couple of days I've really been locked into watching all the games, or not watching, at least at most listening to these games, right? And just the whole playoff atmosphere. You got Shohei Ohtani, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Like that just is this, just great atmosphere of baseball. To see the baseball, even the San Diego Padres fans, there's a little bit of bad blood between the Padres and the Dodgers, and to see the Padres fans how they reacted every time they had a chance to make a play, or them talking crazy to some of the players, and some of the things I've just heard, and the energy and the atmosphere of baseball is just great to watch. Right now, the Mets, obviously last night, was watching them play. They were, I'm not a Bryce Harper fan, we should say, if I had to talk about a baseball guy, just because he's one of those guys I just never got along with, and never, really supported. He was kind of like one of those guys I hope he lose. And so to see the Mets come out here and hit a grand slam to close it out like that was absolutely great. Pete Alonso had himself an absolute monster of a series. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know every single baseball player going on or who's out here and doing all this stuff, but I'm learning as we go, right? So I'm taking a step, elevating my game into the baseball world of things, right? Just like I'm going to try to implement myself into the hockey world of things, right? And as we go forward, hockey season just started as well. So I'm a local, Bay Area local, San Jose area. So Sharks, I go to the Sharks games as well. I support the local teams as much as I possibly can. But so with that, I just had to say that, I'm having so much fun watching baseball, getting out here and just listening to these games. And because, it's the playoffs, it's do or die. Some of these teams you lose, you go home. It's best of 5. It's not best of 7. So some of these teams put themselves in bad situations. Some of these teams, have to go deep into their bullpen, and things like that. And so I'm just learning as we go and to just see this type of energy and passion around the sport right now and all these big matchups that I'm just hearing everybody talk about. It's just great to be a part of it and really truly lock in and watch it as it develops and play out, So yeah, but the first thing I wanted to discuss, obviously, is the Thursday night football matchup. We have the Seattle Seahawks versus the San Francisco 49ers, right? And this one, the San Francisco is currently favored by 3.5, minus 3.5. They play in Seattle. Seattle's coming off a game against the Giants where they did lose, right, in upsetting-like fashion. They were unable to establish the run game early. They were playing behind down early, so that Geno Smith had come out here and was forced to throw the ball, And the big matchup for me here, the big key, injuries has got to be for the Seattle Seahawks, right? I mean, you have Tariq Woolen's not supposed to be playing tonight. Byron Murphy, their first-round pick, not supposed to be playing tonight. Boy Mafe, if I'm pronouncing him right, he's questionable with a knee injury, so I'm not sure how he's going to be in this game, if he's going to be 100%, if he's going to be on snap count, or maybe if he just doesn't straight out play, right, which is a huge key part to this Seattle defense, because the Seattle defense is not great defensively. I mean, the secondary I really, really like, right? I think a lot of their issues have to do with the negative, how bad they are in the run game, right? And San Francisco feeds on that, right? So I believe with all these injuries and everything going on, I got the San Francisco winning by just straight up. I'm taking San Francisco money line here. I'm not taking them by 3.5. Why? Because not having Jake Moody worries me, right? If you have a chance to go up 4 or you're up 3 and to go up 6, like any of these types of situations, or you're up 7 and you kick a field goal to go up 10, and then things like that. All these different scenarios where you don't have your kicker just makes it harder, right? Now you're more predictable. You're more obviously going for it on 4th downs and different types of situations which you normally wouldn't. And when your defense hasn't been playing as dominant as it has in the past years, that's a huge question mark, right? But I do still think there's too many holes in this Seattle defense to really win this game, to lose this game, or for the Niners to lose this game. So I got the Niners winning this game straight up, right? I'm not worried about them. What happened. I'm expecting them to come out here and run the ball and dominate the line of scrimmage like they previously have last week. We'll get into that in a little bit, but they didn't run the ball as much as I would have liked for them to see, especially compared to the number of touches Jordan Mason was getting before that game. But my 2 player props of the day for this game, Thursday night football, I got Jordan Mason over 82.5 rushing yards. Listen, he banged it last week. The only game he didn't bang it was against the Los Angeles Rams, where you didn't have Debo. Ayuk was not playing like Brandon Ayuk, that $30 million receiver. Jawan Jennings was your best receiver at that current moment. You had no George Kittle, right? So you were missing these guys. And so that's just one of those games we're going to let it slide. Brock Purdy was throwing the ball a lot, right? Because the Rams were basically tightening up on the run and allowing themselves to win these one-on-one matchups defensively, right? And so you've seen that play out, and obviously they came out to win, right? That was the last time Jordan Mason did not cover this, right? And he still was able to get, I think, 20-something touches. Last week was the factor, right? He had, I believe, 12 carries for 92 yards, right? Averaging 6.4 yards per carry. And that, to me, that is the recipe for success for this team. You have to get him the ball. I don't think he got the ball enough last week. Brock Purdy threw the ball 34 times and was 50% completion percentage. That's not the recipe for success for this team. So I think they're going to get back to the ways. I do have Deebo Samuel. Jordan Mason, my play of the day, but Deebo Samuel over 55.5 receiving yards. Deebo Samuel's a guy where when he comes to divisional games, you just get the best out of him, right? And I think with no Tariq Woolen, that means Witherspoon's going to be getting those one-on-one matchups with Brandon Ayuk, right? And so I think that's going to be the guy they're going to be trying to key up on. And I think with Jawan Jennings playing as well as he's been, I think Deebo Samuel could step into a role where he gets more opportunities in the middle of the field. Kyle Shanahan will draw up good plays, and I think he's going to be that number 3 target, when you look at this San Francisco offense in the receiving game. I think 1, 2, 3, Ayuk, Jennings, Deebo. So I think Deebo can really have himself a solid game. I'm taking him over 55.5 receiving yards. 4 out of 5 times he's hit this mark against Seattle, right? He loves to just play against his division rivalry teams. He always loves to show up. And also to play against my point, I mean, Seattle allowed rookie Tyron Tracy from the New York Giants to go over for 105 plus rushing yards last week, which is just unacceptable from a rookie running back, especially the Giants. You know, the Giants, there's a lot of question marks about that team in general, right? So, boom. But the next thing I wanted to discuss before we get into some of the juicy stuff is this is more of a personal thing I want to discuss, right? I'm a Raiders fan. Obviously, I think everybody knows that here. I'm a Las Vegas Raiders fan. I'm a diehard Raider fan, right? And what is the Raiders' direction at this current moment, right? Because I've had some conversations and I've seen some people talk about, oh, you know, AP's not a good head coach, you know, oh, Getsky needs to get fired, our defense is not playing as good as it's supposed to, or we got to trade Devontae, don't trade Devontae, 806, all this stuff, right? And listen, first and foremost, right? Okay. Aiden O'Connell will be our starting quarterback for the next game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. How long will that last? I'm not very sure, right? But let's be realistic here, right? Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, we knew this wasn't going to be a great quarterback room. We knew it was going to be very unlikely to get the same production out of Gardner Minshew that they got him last year, a Pro Bowl Gardner Minshew, right? Shane Steichen and that offense excuse me, not Shane Steichen. The Indianapolis Colts head coach, I don't know why I'm blanking right now, but the Indianapolis Colts head coach did a great job with him his last year in Indianapolis, and he did a great job with Jalen Hurts before he came over to become the head coach for Indianapolis, right? So, again, it was hard to think that somebody like Luke Getsky can get the most out of, you know, Gardner Minshew, especially when you can get the most out of Justin Fields, right? And we're seeing Arthur Smith be able to do that right now. In Pitt. So again, there's a lot of question marks about Getsky going forward. I know he had a great relationship with Devontae Adams, right? But I mean, listen, his last stint in Chicago did not look good, right? They were just very one-sided. You couldn't get the best out of Justin Fields, and I think you just kind of were asking Gardner Minshew to do too much, right? So hopefully Aiden O'Connell, AOC, can come out here and really be a top 15 quarterback. Like, I would love nothing more than him to be a top 15 quarterback for the rest of the season, right? Puts us in a good situation to win some games. But let's be realistic. Has he proven to to us that he can do that? No, right? I think there's a lot of flaws to this team. I think with us being unable to run the ball defensively, we're not as good as we thought we were going to be, right? Max Crosby's still great. Christian Wilkins finally got his game together week 3, but now he's on IR for the rest of the year. Malcolm Koonce was on IR before the season even started, right? Tyree Wilson, another guy, like, it was our first round pick last year. We were expecting him to make a jump this year, make some plays, and he still has been pretty quiet, right? And which is, you just can't have that on year 2, right? You need your first overall pick to start developing and making some plays, especially with no Christian Wilkins out there, no Malcolm Koonce. You're getting all the snaps, you're getting the starting reps, right? And so it's just we're in a difficult situation, right? I think this defense overachieved last year when AP came in. We got that, you know, interim head coach boost, and we played out of our minds defensively. And so our defense just looked better than what it really was. Isaiah Hobbs, I still think he's one of the best nickel corners in football, right? Trayvon Moorick, I think he's just gotten better and better every year since he's been with the Raiders, right? Jack Jones, somebody who was, you know, he was putting himself in the I want to be an elite cornerback conversation. It's not that he's terrible, but there's just some times where you would like to see somebody just make a play, you know, and we just don't make those plays, right? Jacorian Bennett, who was someone last year we drafted, which is phenomenal 4.3 speed. I said he was going to be a great player for us, and this year he's definitely made so much huge strides. He's not the number 1 cornerback, no, but when he gets in there and he makes his plays, he's just great at what he does, right? And he's just continuing to get better. So I love to see that from him. And then obviously Spillane's having an All-Pro type season. Will he get that All-Pro nod? I'm not sure. There's some great linebackers in the NFL at this current moment. Obviously Fred Warner and some others, but yeah, we're just in a different. We don't really understand the direction that we're going in, right? Listen, AP and our GM, Tom Colasco, Mark Davis, all said that we're not trying to win now this year, right? Which is why I was okay with trading Devontae Adams, why I was okay getting some extra picks and trying to rebuild this roster the right way, right? Boom, because now AP and Tom Colasco have the opportunity to rebuild this team through the draft and hit well, right? And you've already added some pieces. You have Christian Wilkins, you have a Malcolm Koonce if we decide to re-sign him this offseason, you have a Max Crosby, you know, you have a Moore, you have a Nate Hobbs. So we have some pieces on defense. It's not like we need to revamp this whole defense, right? No, we just need some key pieces in key spots. You know, I would like another corner, right? I would like another pass rusher that could show he could play alongside Max Crosby, because at this current moment, we still can't give Max Crosby any consistent help, right? And when you're doing things like that, it's not a recipe to success for win. And at the absolute worst, we can't run the ball right now. I've seen Luke Getsky call one good a quarter of football, and that was the fourth quarter against the Baltimore Ravens. Since then, I haven't seen him, call a good game. We haven't been able to run the balls, different scheme runs and all this stuff. So it's just different, and it hurts Zamir White. I'm not liking Luke Getsy at this current moment. Do I think Luke Getsy could flourish if we get a elite quarterback? Sure, maybe, right? The question's there. Do I think it's going to automatically fix his problems? No, right? Because we've got to get the ball into our playmakers' hands, and I don't think he's doing a great job of that, right? And when you have a Trey Tucker, a guy who can get the ball downfield, and a Jacoby Myers alongside of Devontae Adams, there should be, and a Brock Bowers, who's the best rookie non-quarterback in the league, outside of Malik Neighbors, I will say that, right? And outside of that, he's been phenomenal, and you just have too much talent on this team to really be struggling to move the ball. And when your offense is the biggest issue, Jackson Powers, since he's came into play and come off injury, he's been great. I love what I've seen from a couple flags here and there, but I just think it's going to continue to get better and better. Colton Miller, he hasn't been great, but he's been solid, right? He's held up his end of the line, and there's just too many good players around this team to not be able to move the ball. Zamir White, we've seen him in 3 games as a starter last year, 100+ yards in all 3 games to end the season. When Josh Jacobs was out, he was our workhorse to end the season, right? So I'm blaming a lot of this on Luke Getsy, because why can we come in and all of a sudden we can't run the ball, right? We're able to do it with Josh Jacobs. We're able to do it with Zamir White last year, and now all of a sudden Getsy comes in, different scheme, calls different stuff, and he's not playing to his player strengths. And why are we asking Gardner Minshew to play like a Tom Brady? Why are we trying to turn Gardner Minshew into a Rich Gannon, like when he came into Oakland or later in his career, and then we end up making a Super Bowl, right? So it's just there's just too many question marks around Luke Getsy and AP, and I trust AP. AP has the right to kind of rebuild this team and go in a different direction. Because listen, Josh McDaniels left our team in absolute trash, in shambles, right? We ended up spending money on Jimmy G. We had to cut him, right? He brought in Jacoby Myers, who I really do like, right? But bringing in Jacoby Myers also lost Hunter Renfrow his reps, his touches. What ended Hunter Renfrow's career as a Raider after he was a Pro Bowl receiver, right? 1,000-yard receiver. And so Hunter Renfrow is one of those guys that you just couldn't get the best of him, right? And then you have the whole Darren Waller situation. I know Darren Waller was injured and had some drop passes, but we didn't utilize him the way he was supposed to be, which kind of turned out to play in our favor because of how he ended in for the Giants, right? But still, there's just so many question marks about Josh McDaniels and what he did, drafting the wrong players, drafting different players, and it's just not played to our strengths. We have not gotten, I would say, we got put in a big hole with Josh McDaniels, right? Because he thought he could be Bill Belichick and win a Super Bowl with Jimmy G and win games with Jimmy G when we all wanted to trade up for CJ Stroud, and now we look how that all played out, right? So there's a lot of stuff that AP and our GMs and we have to clean up and fix, right? And so right now at this current moment, I'm all in for the Carson Beck train. Let's go get Carson Beck, who I still think is the best quarterback in college football, regardless of what anybody else says. Carson Beck, let's go get a Carson Beck, a Georgia quarterback who played with his favorite receiving threat ever is Brock Bowers. So you're putting a college quarterback with a college tight end who they love to play with each other. They won a national championship together. Come on, dude, this is great. Excuse me, they didn't win a national championship together, but Brock Bowers won, you know what I'm saying. But again, so I'm just on this not winning now mode, right? Because it's at this point where we just need a quarterback. We've been saying this, for years, since after Rich Gannon left, and we just had nobody for so long, right? We're trying to get these veteran quarterbacks like Carson Palmer, Jason Campbell, and all these old guys who are on the back end of their careers, right? And you got some good football from some of them, but the whole other organizational shit. And then when you had Derek Carr, you bring in Derek Carr, you try to support him on offense, and then our defense is no good, right? And then you finally get some good defense, and then Derek Carr is no good, right? So there's just a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed and changed, and I hope going forward AP and Telesco can really straighten the ship, right the ship, because listen, there's no reason we should be this bad at football, and I get it. We need a quarterback. That's our biggest red flag on our roster, and that's the most important red flag on our roster, right, or in any NFL team's roster. So I do think we need to go get a quarterback. I'm all for trading for a Bryce Young and bringing him in and having him, just for the rest of the season, even if we can do that, for the rest of the season, back up or whoever and maybe play some games, and that's somebody I would invest in if it gets to the point where we win too many games, But the one thing I don't want to do again is go out here and win 8 or 9 games or 7 games and then come back right next year and we're too high to get an elite quarterback, right? So now we're settling for the third, fourth, fifth best quarterback on the board, right? Like a Quinn Ewers, Shador Sanders type guy. So I'm just definitely don't want to do that. So hopefully, it's frustrating being a Raiders fan right now, these last couple of years as well. But this year more specifically, it's been hard to watch some of these games because how bad our offense is, and the defense, I don't know if they're, sometimes they're getting gashed, right? And I don't know if that's to do with them being on the field so damn much or the fact that we're just not as good as we thought we were after the AP stint last year. So definitely something to look forward to for me and all the other Raider fans. But, And the next topic I want to get into is obviously the New York Jets fire Robert Saleh, right? And this one hits a little bit different. This is where stuff gets interesting because, listen, the defense was great. The defense was great. The game he got fired was for the Minnesota Vikings, where you allowed one of the best offenses in football, Sam Darnold, who's been in MVP discussions. Sam Darnold's playing like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. Did we think Sam Darnold's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? No. But that's how he's playing at this current moment. So you go in here, you harass him, you make it absolutely difficult for him to go out here and play football, and you also get a turnover against Sam Darnold, who's been playing great and taking care of the ball for the most part, right? And the offense was the issue here, right? And this is where this just kind of blows my mind, right? Because the offense wasn't good. Aaron Rodgers had 3 picks, including the game-winning pick for Stephon Gilmore, right? Aaron Rodgers has not played good at all, right? And he has not been a great quarterback. I mean, look what the statistic: 2.5 years, almost, or 3 years almost, since he's thrown the ball for 300 yards in one game, right? And he's just not the same quarterback that he's been, right? And at the initial, the Jets are 2-3 playing for their division against the Buffalo Bills this next upcoming Sunday, right? You're not in a bad situation. If you win on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills, you're 3-3 and you're tied for first in your division. Just let that sink in. I've never seen a coach get fired for his side of the ball being great. And the other side, where you brought in Woody Marks, right? That's his name, the New York Jets head coach, Woody Johnson, right? Woody Johnson came in. Woody Marks is the USC running back. But anyways, Woody Johnson came in here. He wanted Aaron Rodgers, so he traded for Aaron Rodgers. He gave Aaron Rodgers this money, right? He has given him the keys to everything. He brought in Alan Lazard. He brought in Nathaniel Hackett. He brought in Randall Cobb last year, right? He brought in all these guys to make Aaron Rodgers happy. He brought in all these guys to support Aaron Rodgers. Why? Because he believed in Aaron Rodgers. He's good friends with Aaron Rodgers, right? So they're all buddy, and now that side of the ball is underperforming, right? And the initial thought, right, is wow, Aaron Rodgers got Robert Saleh fired. There was no new news that they didn't like each other, that they were bumping heads. You had the Tennessee Titans game even the New England Patriots game, Thursday Night Football, where he goes for a fist bump or whatever, and they just kind of shrugs him off, and then it looks ugly. It looks bad from the media. The media is asking everybody, Robert Saleh initially was the one to call him out for going to Egypt, for doing this whole little thing, missing OTAs, mandatory minicamp, right? Saying it was unexcused, saying we don't know, you know what I'm saying, all this stuff. And I'm with him, right? And now it's got to the point where Woody Johnson's out here on interviews on broadcast saying he's begging for Hassan Reddick to come back to practice. He said, we're waiting for you to come back to practice. We're going to accept you with open arms. We need you to come back to practice. Please come back. Please drive down the street and go get on the highway, go pull over to the New York Jets facility. He is begging Hassan Reddick to come back. He has turned this. I mean, listen, the Jets are already a laughingstock as it is, but it has just gotten absolutely out of hand, right? And initially, before what I heard this morning, you had issues. If Aaron Rodgers and Woody Johnson were 100%, they wanted to get better and just try something new, they would have changed, originally at the current moment, they would have changed Nathaniel Hackett. They would have fired Nathaniel Hackett because he has been absolutely terrible. He has not helped Aaron Rodgers, be better. He's just kind of done what Aaron Rodgers likes to do, and that's not how you win football games, right? And you've seen Aaron Rodgers always have these dramas with his OCs, with his coaches and stuff like that. So it's just, this whole New York Jets situation is a mess. It's ridiculous, and Aaron Rodgers claims he didn't say anything or didn't have any say on, Robert Saleh getting fired, but we all know that's kind of baloney. We all know that's not how it is. You're Aaron Rodgers, you're the one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. You have that type of leeway to know who's coming in, who's coming out, who's on the hot seat and who's not, right? And he should have said something. If he was serious about winning, he should have said something about Nathaniel Hackett's play calling not being good. Look your friend in the eye and tell him he's got to be better, right? Because clearly nobody has done that, right? And as of today, Nathaniel Hackett actually did get demoted. Todd Downing is the new play caller for the New York Jets. So, I have no idea who this is, if I'm going to keep it completely honest with you. So I have no idea what to expect, but hopefully we can see something new from this New York Jets team going forward, right? Aaron Rodgers has a lot to prove now. Because not only did you get a Robert Saleh fired, right, because how poorly you were playing, okay? You were playing. Robert Saleh is going to be a great DC no matter where he goes. He did his job as the Jets DC. He built a great defensive team. He's been that since he's got there. He's never had the right quarterback play. Woody Johnson wanted to go all in for Aaron Rodgers, so he did that. He put him in an Aaron Rodgers situation that I don't even necessarily think he truly wanted, right? And now you have fans calling for Woody Johnson's name. You have fans saying we would never do this. If we had a chance to redo this, we would never do this again. Aaron Rodgers has been nothing but drama and issues, and he's not performing on the field, right? Which is the most typical Aaron Rodgers thing to go. So all eyes are on Aaron Rodgers, because if you continue to flop like this after you change the OC, after you got Robert Saleh fired, it's going to ruin not his legacy as a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers as Aaron Rodgers, his legacy will be tarnished in a bit on how he fell out of the NFL. Kind of was just doing all this stuff, but there's a lot of eyes on the New York Jets this upcoming Sunday. You have to show some life on offense, and you haven't done that, right? And we've heard so much about Breece Hall, about Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, right? And it's just not as been put into results. So we need something from them this weekend and this upcoming Sunday. But Kyle Shanahan and the Niners, like I said, 2-3 on the season. You just lost to the Arizona Cardinals. You had no Jake Moody, right? Who is to blame for this loss to the Arizona Cardinals? And for me, listen, this is a Kyle Shanahan game. Like, it's on him. Kyle Shanahan needs to understand that, listen, I understand you have no Jake Moody, right? I'm not making excuses if you were to lose by a kick, or if you lost by 3 points because you had to go for it because you didn't have a kicker in the game, right? I'm not going to get crazy with you for that. I'm going to support you and understand when you don't have a kicker, you don't have a kicker, right? That's why the Giants lost to the Commanders early on, or else the Commanders would be 3-2 right now as well, like a lot of other teams, right? But listen, when Jordan Mason is averaging 6.4 yards per carry, 14 carries, 89 yards, right? And Brock Purdy is 19 for 35 with 2 interceptions. There is no reason you shouldn't be running the ball more throughout the game. Brock Purdy barely completed a little bit over 50% of his passes, right? And Brock Purdy just did not have a good... Brock Purdy just did not have a good game. And when Brock Purdy's not having a good game like that, you've got to stick with your bread and butter, because we've seen you do it before. I don't want to hear Jimmy G, it was Jimmy G, Brock Purdy's better than Jimmy G. If your quarterback is not making throws, you're averaging 6.4 yards per carry. You give Jordan Mason the ball. He should have 22, 24 touches in a game like this. Why? Because you can control the clock. Arizona has been known not to be able to stop the run. They've struggled against the run every single week, and you go out here and just limit your team. You handicapped your team, Kyle Shanahan. This one's on you, right? And now you put yourself in a tough situation going forward. Has your defense played great? No. Your defense has not looked the same since before they signed Bosa, and you had to start paying all these guys, right? You had to start letting go of some of the guys because you had to pay everybody, right? James Conner comes out here and runs for 4.5 yards per carry, 86 yards. Kyler Murray, 83 yards and a touchdown, including a 60-yard scamper to start the game. 169 total yards on the ground for these Arizona Cardinals offense. I mean, they were electric today. Again, this team can be very scary if their defense can start consistently getting more stops and their pass game comes through a little bit more. But again, this is unexcusable. Brandon Ayuk, 147 yards, right? Jordan Mason, I know he had that crucial fumble, which has resulted in, Arizona kicking the field goal and going ahead, but no point should it have been that close, right? You should have ran the ball down their throats over and over and over again. I was watching the game. I was locked in. I was keeping track on how many times you threw the ball. You could have ran the ball more. You should have ran the ball more. You should have dominated the line of scrimmage, kept the ball out of their hands like you do, like you're known to do. You do it with Christian McCaffrey. You did it with Jimmy G his entire career there. Like, there is no excuse why you shouldn't feel comfortable running the ball 24 to 25 times with Jordan Mason. He was dominating this game, and until they stop it, you should not go away from it, because we know what you love to do, Kyle Shanahan. You like to set up the run. You like to run the game, set up the play action. I seen little to no play action at all this entire second half of this game. He was coming out here on first down, second down, third, like 3 straight plays, pass. You don't have Patrick Mahomes. You don't have that great of a quarterback. Brock Purdy's been playing phenomenal this year. No, I'm not going to use the word phenomenal. He played good without his weapons being there. He played good this entire season for the most part. He's taking care of the ball. He's gotten you to win in situations to win games, right? Okay? You've been banged up. The injury bug got the best of you so far this year, right? But just know who you have at quarterback, right? You just don't want to be one of those guys. These guys look like the Ravens. Like they just forgot who they were. Run the damn ball. I get you want to show Brock Purdy is going to be worth this $50 million contract extension this upcoming season. You want to show that he can be the MVP of this league. He can compete with the Dax statistically and with the ability to throw the ball and with the Mahomes. You want to put him in that tier. Say, yo, we got a top 5 quarterback. He's going to be worth that money. But what that showed me is you're trying to force him to do something he's not, and there's no reason why you should force him to do that. Like, it's just run the damn ball. You get out of this game with the win. You probably win by 10 plus points. You put Arizona in a situation where they have to throw the ball and come out here, and they can't just run the ball. James Connors, take time, keep the offense on the field, run it down to the last second, get a game-winning field goal. Like, you never would be in that situation if you just run the ball coming out of the third quarter. Why you went away from it, I will never know. But again, you've got to get your stuff straight. Because now you're 2-3, and your next game, your schedule is not easy, right? You have to go play Seattle, right? I think, or tonight, we think Seattle, the Niners are going to win. You have to play the Kansas City at home, right? Kansas City's lost all year. Dallas, you own them, so I'm not worried about them. Tampa Bay is a scrappy team, right? You still play at home, but Tampa Bay is a scrappy team. You play Seattle again. Jordan Love, okay, again, a rematch. That team that should have beat you, right? Buffalo, who's again is a great team. Chicago Bears, who by that half of the season, who knows how good they can be. We know that defense is good. We know Caleb Williams continue to get better. You play the Rams, the Dolphins, who's going to have Tua. The Rams will be completely healthy. You'll play the Detroit Lions and the Arizona Cardinals again. Those are some very tough games. And what's so special about San Francisco is they always have the 1 seed. They always have home field advantage. When was the last time you've seen them have to go play on the road in the playoffs? Right? Okay, so it's important to win these games early on, and when you're getting away from what you're best at, that just causes a lot of concerns, right? And you're going to put yourself in a bad situation, not only for this team, because now you're playing, catch up. Now you're playing catch up, and you can still win the division. Like, that's not going to be the issue. But there's you have Minnesota, you have Detroit. All these these teams are dominating right now, like they should be. And the San Francisco 49ers have to get their stuff together. Again, if they want to be a legitimate contender going into this upcoming off season. But here's my week 5 recap. Okay, week 5 recap is going to be kind of rapid fire. We're going to be running through these, right? These are notable things I thought of going through week 5, after week 5. The first one, Buffalo Bills, they need a true wide receiver 1. Listen, this is the second game in a row we've lost, and you truly had no kind of receiving threat to bail you out. You heard them being in a discussion for Davante Adams, right? And if you can't get Davante Adams now that he's no longer on the trade market, you've got to get somebody in there, or you need somebody to step up, because you not having a true wide receiver 1, if they can just slow down the run game and make you play behind the sticks, you're in a bad situation. Why? Because Josh Allen was getting pressured. He was trying to use his legs a lot. For the most part, they didn't allow him to make big plays like that with his feet, but you need a true wide receiver 1. You cannot be a legitimate playoff team, contending team, if you don't have a wide receiver 1. It's going to hurt you in the playoffs, especially how we've seen them get dominated by the Ravens. And for the most part, listen, Houston was winning that game for the most part, the entire game, up until they had to get the game-winning field goal. Josh Allen gets hurt, comes out, and throws those 3 bad passes, punts it right back, game's over, right? Joe Flacco and the Indianapolis Colts, this offense goes. Joe Flacco makes this offense go. The Indianapolis Colts play better with Joe Flacco, and I get that. Anthony Richardson, he's young, he's up and coming. He's still got a lot to learn. He hasn't played. He's been injured. He was injured all last year. He played 3 games, injured twice this year already, I believe. He went into the game against Jacksonville, got hurt, went out, came back in, and just walked off again, right? And Joe Flacco, these last 2 weeks, this receiving core that I've been talking about all offseason, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Adonai Mitchell, they've all getting involved when Joe Flacco comes in. And then you didn't have Jonathan Taylor, so the run game wasn't there. So just imagine this offense with the Jonathan Taylor, with Joe Flacco, when his ability to spread the ball out and break down defenses, because he still is a gunslinger. It's automatic. Listen, Pierce 134 and a touchdown, Josh Downs 9 for 69 yards, Adonai Mitchell 4 catches, 38 yards. 9 different receivers got to catch this game. He was spreading the ball out with no Jonathan Taylor, and he put his team on his back. Right, the Jacksonville defense was horrid, but you just left too much time on for Trevor Lawrence against a very horrendous defense in its own right. Just Jaden Daniels, is a top 5 quarterback already. I mean, listen, you're sitting at 4-1, 77 completion percentage, 300 rush yards, 4 touchdowns, 1,100 yards in the season, 4 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, right? Listen, you have a good receiver in Terry McLaurin who's been waiting for a true quarterback to come his way his entire career, and now he's playing phenomenal. The last 3 games, Terry McLaurin has been absolutely dominating, including a drop pass against the Cleveland Browns that would have resulted in another touchdown for the Washington Commanders and another statistic bonus for Terry McLaurin, right? Terry McLaurin is a great receiver. I trust this run game now is wide open because Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson have never played with a quarterback of this caliber. It's the Lamar Jackson effect. Your running backs will get better lanes. Why? Because they have to respect the quarterback. Jaden Daniels' ability as an athlete, it showed very clear against the Browns. When everything was locked up, no play was to be made. He made a play with his feet. He did it time and time again. And while he's getting chased by Myles Garrett, he's just done great. This O-line has done great, right? Cliff Kingsbury's done a great job of letting this QB, play a quote-unquote college-style offense, right? But it's been working. Phenomenal. I'm hoping that, this is the year Cliff Kingsbury just follows all the way to, maintains this explosive offense all the way through the season, and we don't see a dip-off, right? I still expect this team to be a playoff team. Do I expect them to win the division? Maybe not. I still like Philadelphia in some of these games because of the... You know what? We could have some real shootouts, but I have more hope that the Eagles can get their defense figured out than the Commanders. Because the Eagles have the players to be good defensively, they're just not, So maybe there's there's some hope there. But listen, Jaden Daniels will be playing the Baltimore Ravens this week. It's supposed to be game of the year. I've already heard those type of quotes. So let's see how it goes. If they come out and beat the hot smoking Baltimore Ravens in a shootout, who knows? You know what I'm saying? The Bengals and the Rams are the best one-win teams I've ever seen, right? The Bengals. Listen, Jamar Chase had 2 touchdowns, 150 yards. T. Higgins, 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. Joe Burrow, 30 for 39, 392 yards, 5 touchdowns. He said he needed to play perfect, and he was 1 throw away from playing perfect. He had 1 INT, which just was a bad time to have that type of throw. Marlon Humphrey made a great play. You allow, the Ravens to send it into OT, and then you didn't make the field goal with Evan McPherson, right? And then you allowed Derrick Henry to have the one big run of his entire career, or the entire game. But again, they're just such a good team, and we lost to the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Commanders. You should have beaten the Commanders. Excuse me, you should have beaten the Ravens. You could have possibly been the Commanders if your defense wasn't so bad, but they're just such an amazing team to watch. Joe Burrow, this offense is going defensively. They've got to figure something out. You can't just play good defensively against the Chiefs. And then you have the Rams. Listen, what Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay have been able to do with Kyrie Williams and no Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nacua has just been great, right? Defensively, they've been really keen in on some stuff. They pushed the Green Bay Packers to the wire. The Lions, 26-20. You lost in OT because your team was tired and they finally decided to run the ball, right? The Bears, you lost to the Bears. Why? Because you have nobody, right? That defense is good. You beat the Niners, right? Which was a big win. You put them back in the division. You're still sitting at 1-4, right? 1-3. So 1-4, 1-3, 1-3, 1-4 because you lost to the Cardinals, right? So you're sitting at 1-4. You have a bye week this week. You play the Raiders next week. You have a healthy Cooper Kupp. That's the ideal time he's supposed to come back. And if you can get something going against the Raiders and you can start counting, getting some back-to-back wins, who knows? Because I don't know what's going on with my Raiders either. But, the Rams are going to be in a good spot to maybe make a sneaky run here. Maybe because that team has played very, very good. Each game, you've put Matthew Stafford in a position and Sean McVay in a position to win the game with a last-second drive. And, that's all you can ask for. As a defense, as a coach, give your chance to team to win, and he's done that, right? And not having guys as big as Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, it's just great to see. And then the Atlanta Falcons have finally hit their stride. Listen, we've been waiting for this hype this entire offseason. We said Kirk Cousins is going to come in here and make this team better. This offense is going to be absolutely electric, right? We're going to see this team take a huge stride defensively. They added some additions to the defense. Matthew Judon, they've got Jesse Bates. They re-signed AJ Terrell. They have definitely added some pieces to this team. They're trying to contend. They're trying to win now. Early on, you had a couple losses to the Chiefs, which, you got stuffed on 4th and 1, right? With Bijan, you had a chance to win that game or at least go up with a lead. And then you lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers opening night. Kirk Cousins did not look like himself. NFL. It happens. But listen, 505 yards, 508 yards, 4 touchdowns. Drake London, somebody who I've been telling him since he got drafted by USC, once he gets a good quarterback, he's going to dominate. And he's Drake London, 12 receptions, 154 yards, and a touchdown. He's been great. These last 3 weeks, he's been great. Game-winning touchdown against the Philadelphia Eagles. Darnell Mooney, somebody else who I said is so good. Since his rookie year, he's so good in the Bears. Why don't the Bears feature him more? This is why he's so good. He's been phenomenal for this team, and him being able to be a wide receiver 3 on this team, or a wide receiver 2 even, it's just great. It's a great spot to put him in. Drake London takes some pressure off him, and Darnell Mooney's been dominating. Kyle Pitts, 7 receptions, 88 yards. I had this guy in fantasy, played him every single week. He gave me 0. I said, I'm never playing him again. Here we go, 7 receptions, 88 yards. I should have known. He's always done this against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's always going crazy against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But again, Kirk Cousins has now elevated this team. Bijan Robinson, your best player on your team, arguably your best player on your team coming into the season. He was having, 5-point-something yards per carry or 4-point-something yards per carry, but he hasn't been dominant, but he's been good, right? Good in his role. And when you finally get that run game going like we all think it can go, this team could be so scary. And so I'm a believer in the Atlanta Falcons. I could see them getting 12 wins, 10, 11 or 12 wins, win the division, right? Tampa Bay close behind them, but man, oh man, is this team so fun to watch. They have just been so good. Absolutely phenomenal. And I'm all for it. I love the Atlanta Falcons. I would love to see them go out there and compete and win, make a playoff game. Drake London, go be a star. Darnell Mooney, go be a star. I love both of those players, and I think it's time for both of them to eat, and they've been doing just that, right? So now we get into the fantasy football talk of things, right? Fantasy football. Everybody plays fantasy football. I know multiple people that are in multiple leagues. So here we are. We're going to be chatting up about fantasy football just a little bit. A lot of people ask me football-related questions about their fantasy teams and things like that. And so I'll break it down, how I feel about certain people. When news drops, I'll make sure to send it to certain people. So I'm always super active in this stuff. Maybe I'll make a fucking Discord about just... boom, get the Young Rich podcast going. Everybody wants to be in it. Talk football, talk sports. You want to go talk about some gambling stuff, we could always do that. Talk fantasy football, all these things. Just to start building a community. So maybe a Discord will be coming out soon. Who knows? I currently already have one, but it's kind of private, just low key between me and a couple of my friends. But we'll definitely see how that goes. But fantasy football wise, I hope everybody's having a great season so far. I've heard some people, that had the typical, 2-0 start and their team falls apart. I've seen some people have absolutely dominant rosters, top to bottom, like there's no weakness on your roster, and yet you're still giving up the most points when opponents play you. Like, it's just that type of year, it happens like that. In one of my leagues currently, I'm currently in my biggest money league, currently 1-4. 1-4 due to some bad beats. I mean, listen, Rashid Shaheed giving me 0 points 2 weeks ago put me in a bad hole, right? Not me playing Kyle Pitts so much put me in a bad hole, right? I could have played somebody else. Because my roster currently sitting as it is. I got Caleb Williams, and this isn't just my biggest money league. Chase Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devontae Smith, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Bucks kicker, Browns defense, Sam Darnold, Kareem Hunt, ETN, Shaheed, and Tank Dell. Right, and I drafted Tank Dell in all my leagues. I thought he was going to be great this year. So the next 4 weeks, I'm still trying to figure out how I should manage that with no Nico Collins, And then Shaheed, I'm not playing him this week due to the fact that Spencer Rattler will be playing. I'm not sure how they're going to get him involved, or if they are. I feel like I'm one running back away from being really good in this league, which I feel like. So after this week, I'm not panicking yet because I've had some very bad beats. Last week, I lost by 2 points. Sam Darnold gave me 3 points against the Jets. Caleb Williams gave me 30 off my bench against Carolina, So there was a lot of moments like that where I'm sitting here and I'm really thinking, I got to make some plays. I got to change this roster up. But definitely, if I hit that 1-5 mark, I've got to make a trade. I'm going to have to because, I just got so many receivers that have been performing, like DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Smith before he got hurt was performing, Shaheed been performing. Tank Dell's been the only one underwhelming, this year, but everyone else been good. ETN obviously was the main guy that I drafted, hoping he was going to have some production. Now take Bigsby's, outperforming him. So currently not looking good. In my other league, specifically, I don't remember exactly who's in my league. I know I'm made up of Brock Purdy, Alvin Kamara, A.J. Brown, Kyle Pitts in that league as well. I also have David Njoku, T.J. Hawkinson. I got, who else? I got Devin Singletary in that league. I got JSN, Deontay Johnson. I got some people in that league. It's a fun league over there. But that's I'm the highest scoring team in that league, right? But I'm still what, 2-2, 3-2, whatever it is. Because the 2 times I lost to the dude that scored 180 that week. He had said somebody go absolutely nuclear. So far, feel like my leagues are good. I know I'm 1-4 in this one, but 1-4 it happens. I'm hoping for a bounce back week this week. If I would have played Sam Darnold last week, I would be in a different situation. Going into this week, I'd be sitting at 2-3, looking good, looking outside, looking in. But definitely, hopefully, hopefully I can still make a push here. 1-5, I don't think you're out of it, right? Because some teams can fall off, some teams can get hurt. Which for me, hopefully some of my teams, I can use some of these receivers to get me another good running back. Maybe I ship off Travis Etienne and Tank Dell for somebody, or Travis Etienne and Shaheed or something like that in that nature. Try to get 2 for 1 and get back a solid running back. But definitely, let me know, because people will be talking to me about this all the time, so I know how people are in certain leagues. They talk to me a lot about fantasy football, trades that are good or bad, and if anybody here is Tank Bigsby is on the market, y'all better go out here and start investing in Tank Bigsby, right? Because he's gonna be looking like it, He's been leading touches and leading carries the last 2 games. He's been running very, very hard, very, very good. He's been getting in the end zone. ETN, the only upside of him last week was that he had 6 catches for 49 yards. So he got me double digits just receiving the ball alone. Which I guess is not giving me a dud, but, it's not very good. I'm still, questioning Devontae Smith, with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith back. Is Devontae Smith going to still produce? Both coming off an injury. How is that going to look? Because I still think in those bigger games, Devontae Smith's going to get not the number 1 cornerback, which is going to allow him to have more opportunities to feast. And if any of you guys have a Jonathan Taylor or Nick Chubb or TJ Hawkinson, David Njoku, I'm so happy you guys hang on to them, because in my second league, where I'm the highest scoring team, I still have David Njoku, TJ Hawkinson just sitting there on my bench. They're just sitting there with injuries, right? I have them in my little injury slot, because I've been holding on to those guys. Oh, yes. As soon as they hit them, somebody dropped them week 1, I just been holding on to them, and I'm very glad I did, because not only do I have Kyle Pitts in that league, but I have 2 legitimate possible top 8 tight ends, which in a world of where tight ends aren't going crazy this year, that's huge, So, again, I just want to recap some of the previous offseason moves. Deontay Johnson, I said once once a quarterback starts feeding him the ball and this offense starts going, he's going to start seeing production, and he's been doing great. 2 straight back-to-back weeks where he was great. This last week wasn't so great for him. The Bears did a great job. Jalen Johnson, is Jalen Johnson's possibly the best cornerback in football this year. So that's just something to look at. But listen, I said Terry McLaurin is going to get it going with Jaden Daniels. He's been doing just that. Last 3 weeks, been absolutely dominating, right? I said Caleb Williams is going to get it going, and he's been getting better and better every single year. Who else did I really buy in on? I said Tank Dell. Tank Dell was one of the biggest names. I said he's going to go out here and absolutely be a superstar. I said JSN was going to have a breakout year, and he's been doing just that. I initially in this league actually had Bryce Young and Caleb Williams on the same team at one point, because I had so much faith in one of these guys to really break out early on. Obviously did not pan out well. I think week 1, Caleb Williams gave me negative or 0 point something, and Bryce Young gave me negative something points. So it was absolutely horrendous week 1, let me just tell you, all right? But ever since then, I've been locked in. DJ Moore's finally got it going. Cole Kmet has been getting involved. Bucks kicker has been doing great. So yeah, let me know how y'all think about fantasy football, how your season's going, because I know people who watch this, they always talk to me, always let me know. Let me know in the comments how you feeling about your fantasy football team this year, this upcoming season. This year, and how you're doing. Are you the bottom feeder? Are you the guy that started off 0-3 and you're fighting your way back? Or are you the guy that's 0-5 in the bottom of your league? Because I've seen some of those where if you're in last place, you got the punishment league. So hopefully that's not you. It's not me. It's current moment. But I definitely got to bounce back. So I'm hoping for a big bounce back week from my squad. But maybe I'll make this a typical thing. Start talking more fantasy football, as that is the talk of the all weekends at this current moment, right? With what we got. Okay. But now getting into the NBA. Okay. I have 3 over-unders for this upcoming NBA season. 3 NBA teams, all overs, no unders. 3 NBA teams that I think is going to be excel their over-under total, right? And starting with 1, the New York Knicks. 53.5 wins, 50 wins last year, right? And you added Karl Anthony Towns, who's a great regular season performer. You added OG, who I know second half of the season, when you first got there, you were 9-1, 13-1 with OG in the starting lineup, which was absolutely great. You just added Mikal Bridges, who doesn't miss basketball. He doesn't miss a game. If there's going to be 92 games, he's going to play in all 92. He's there in every game. He's going to show up. He's going to play. And now that he has a lesser role than he did in Brooklyn, I love it. I love it. He's going to be an elite defender, and he's going to be able to shoot the three, and I love his addition to this team, what it means. Josh Hart possibly coming off the bench. I love that for this team as well. Somebody who can make a huge impact off the bench is great to see as well. I know you lost Dante DiVincenzo, but, he's going to be great over there, but you got Karl Anthony Towns, right? So the shooting's still there and all this stuff. Mitchell Robinson, hopefully he stays healthy, so you guys, aren't worrying about that center position. You still have Precious Achiuwa coming back, but I like this team at 54 wins. I just think that, being at 50 wins last year, you didn't have Julius Randle most of the year. You once you got OG, came back, he came over, got hurt, right? And then he came, it's all this stuff. So there's a lot of green flags looking at this Knicks team. They're only going to be better. I think Jalen Brunson, the second half of the season last year, just thrived into that I am, one of one type role, and he performed last year. And then I got the Cleveland Cavaliers over 48.5 wins. Listen, this one was pretty simple. The Cleveland Cavaliers last year had 48 wins. Listen, you had probably the most, I believe the statistic was their starting lineup missed the most games due to injury last year than anybody else's in the NBA last year. And when you're telling me hopefully they have good health, they have a good season, they can't win one more game last year, right? And I think that's going to be just the case. Hopefully you get a healthy Darius Garland, healthy Donovan Mitchell. You lost Jared Allen towards the end of the season a little bit, was banged up in and out of the lineup. So again, I just love this line. I think 40.5 is just too low. This is a 50-win team on a consistent basis. The last 3 out of 4 years, I think they've had over 50 wins. So this is an easy line for me. This would be like my lock of the season. 49 wins for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Lock it, bet it, sip it, seal it. Okay, you got the Kings. Over 46.5 wins. Currently had 46 wins last year, right? With Malik Monk having the best year of his career. De'Aaron Fox having a bit of not a down year, still having a great year, but compared to that season before, where he was clutch player of the year and all this stuff, and that offense was one of the best offenses in basketball, right? You added DeMar DeRozan, who has always been known as a floor raiser, right? He's not going to raise your ceiling, but he's going to raise your floor. He's going to get you a couple extra wins in the regular season. And them sitting at 46.5 wins with what DeRozan can do in the regular season and what he can help you do, on some nights, giving your, De'Aaron Fox a night off when it comes to scoring because DeMar DeRozan is going to be in his bag, his ability to close games, right? I just love this for the Kings. And listen, Keegan Murray had a down year shooting the three ball last year. And if he could even just come, 85% of what he did that year one, I think this team's going to be in a very good position because I expect him to have a bounce back year. Kevin Huerter didn't really impress me this year, so hopefully we get a bounce back year from him as well when it comes to that 3-point percentage. And if they can get this offense going with what Domantas Sabonis has been doing, a top 6, top 5 center in the NBA, he's been great. De'Aaron Fox, hopefully he comes rejuvenated, motivated to come out here and to win, make it back to the playoffs this year. So I love him at 46.5 wins. I think this is an absolute steal, right? This has to be a lock as well. If I got play of the day, a lock, play of the day / lock number 2. Those are my 2 locks. The Knicks would be obviously have to work for it. 54 wins is not an easy thing to do in the NBA, but I think with their additions on the offense and defense side of the ball is going to help them, especially with losing Julius Randle. But with that being said, hopefully y'all enjoyed today's episode today. This was a shorter episode today just because I didn't want to get into too much stuff. It is Thursday Night Football at the end of the day. I'm trying to get it out in the morning, trying to get it out early for the people to hear. But let me know what y'all think. Like, comment, and subscribe to watch this on YouTube. Turn on post notifications. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to follow the show. Give it a 5-star rating as it improves the algorithm. And if you like this content, if you're following me on TikTok, make sure to come over and hit subscribe on the YouTube. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I got all that stuff. I would appreciate the support. With that being said, I'm out.